Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursdays Live with Chuk. Each week, we cover pressing topics that matter to you and your business. I'm Ariana Gonzalez from Chuk Attorneys and CPAs, tuning in from our San Diego office. And joining me today is Global Immigration Manager Gerardo Mendez from our Houston, Texas office. Hi there, Gerardo, and welcome.
Hello, Oriana. Hello, everyone.
So for today's topic, we're going to be discussing the Schengen visas and answering all your questions on this topic. Just a quick disclaimer before we begin, I'd like to remind you all that we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. This conversation is for informational purposes only, and it does not create an attorney-client relationship. So if you do have questions, please comment them below or email us anytime at info@chub.com so we can help you out. Now let's get into it, Gerardo. Can you start by providing us with an overview of the Schengen area and its member counties?
Yes, the border-free Schengen area guarantees free movement to more than 400 million European Union citizens, along with non-European Union citizens living or visiting the EU as tourists, exchange students, or for business purposes. Free movement of persons enables every European Union citizen to travel, work, and live in a EU country without special formalities. Today, the Schengen area encompasses most European Union countries, at 27 members at this time. The only exceptions being Bulgaria, Cyprus, Ireland, and Romania. However, these countries that are not yet members are in the process of completing the required steps to become Schengen states. And also non-European Union countries such as Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein have joined the Schengen area. The Schengen provisions abolish checks at European Union internal borders while providing a single set of rules for control at the external borders, applicable to those who enter the Schengen area for short periods of time, up to 90 days.
This sounds like a great opportunity for European citizens. So what are the different types of Schengen visas that are offered, and how do they differ from each other in terms of purpose and duration? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, there is only one type, is short-term visit. The difference could be the purpose of the trip. They could be used for transit. They can be used for to study, for tourism, or for business purposes. Those are the four main uses given to that type of visa. But the period of validity is the same. Short-term stay is defined by 90 days per any 180-day period. So the difference would be the purpose, but the duration or validity would be the same.
That's really interesting. That's good to know. Thank you for touching on those different types of visas that are offered for this. So let's get into the eligibility and criteria for applying for this visa. What's the basic eligibility? I know you said European citizens, also students on a visa. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, the European Union has a common list of countries whose citizens must have a visa when crossing their external borders, and another list of countries whose citizens are exempt from that requirement. So any applicant who belongs to the first list, the list of nationalities that require that have that visa requirement, will need some sort of visa in order to visit or transit through the European Union. The type of application or the documents submitted for the application would depend largely on the purpose of the trip. Business visitors would need documents from their inviting and their home entity, their employer and the inviting company. Tourism applicants would just be able to submit proof that they have the means, the economic means to visit and stay in the European Union. And in case of students, they would need to school documentation. So the specific requirements for each type of application would depend largely on the type of, or on the purpose of the visit.
That definitely makes sense. That's really good to know. I appreciate you touching on that. So let's discuss the financial requirements. Typically, that's involved in this process. So are there any specific financial requirements or documents that applicants should be prepared to provide if they are applying for a Schengen visa? What do we have to keep in mind?
Yes. Once again, the type of document that you submit to show proof of economic means would depend on the type of the purpose of the visit or the visa. Excuse me. For a business visa, it's typical to submit a letter of invitation from the company in the host country, and also a business cover letter from the current employer of the applicant. In that business cover letter, generally the employer guarantees that they are responsible financially for the applicant while he's in the European Union. In the case of a tourism visa application, it's generally through bank statements of the applicant or credit card statements, anything that shows that they have the financial means to complete the travel.
Okay, so some kind of proof of income to show that they'll be able to keep up with their expenses in this new state.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense. So are there any additional requirements or considerations if you're traveling with minors, for example? What do we have to keep in mind here?
Usually, the additional requirements for minors would be a document that shows their familial link to the applicant, whether if it's children, birth certificates, if it's a spouse, it would be a marriage certificate. And it's also important to keep in mind that each applicant of the family group has to submit a separate application.
That's good to know. Thank you for covering that. So for everyone who's just joining us, we are discussing the Schengen visa and its process. If you have questions, please comment them below or send us an email at info@troop.com. This is for informational purposes only. It does not create an attorney-client relationship. Thank you for tuning in. So let's get back into it. Can you walk us through the general procedure for applying for a Schengen visa?
Yes, you must lodge the application for a Schengen visa at the consulate of the country that you intend to visit. If you intend to visit more than one Schengen state, the consulate of the country where you will spend the longest period is where you're supposed to submit your application. If you intend to visit multiple Schengen states and the periods of stay in each country will be of equal length, you must apply at the consulate of the country whose external borders you will cross first, the country in which through which you will enter the European Union, Schengen area.
That's good to know. So let's discuss the essential documents required in this process. What are the most important documents that applicants must include in their Schengen visa application?
Sure. It is your typical consular visa application. You need a valid passport, an application form, both of those signed, a recent photograph. During your interview or during the submission of your application, your biometrics will be taken, photographs, fingerprints. You need to cover the visa fee. It is also very common to have these Schengen countries have service providers, like outside service providers that process their applications. If that's the case, in addition to the visa fee, you will need also to pay the service fee for that particular service center. There is a major requirement that it's medical insurance. The medical insurance that covers the entire Schengen area and for the entire duration of the stay. Usually also you have to show proof of accommodations like a flight itinerary and hotel reservations. Those are the typical requirements. There are also documents that are related to the purpose of your trip. If you're going for tourism purposes, if you have an itinerary of activities that you're participating in, or a tour or something like that, and if you are going for business purposes, like an invitation from the host company in the European Union, just documents that are specific to the purpose of your trip.
So it sounds like we need quite a few documents in this process: a passport, photo, or pay the visa fee. We need to have documents of where we're planning on staying, our travel plans, medical insurance. So on the topic of insurance, let's touch on that a little bit. So how important is it to have travel insurance when you're applying for a Schengen visa? Is this necessary? And if so, what should applicants look for in a policy for travel insurance?
Yes, travel insurance is indispensable in the application process, and it must be valid, as I mentioned, for the entire Schengen area and cover the entire period of stay. The policy must cover medical emergencies, hospitalizations, and repatriation, including in case of death. So it is a major requirement of the application. The authorities would not accept an application without that requirement.
That's good to know. I appreciate you stressing the importance on that. So if you are watching this and you are going through this process, make sure you do have good travel insurance. And if you do have questions on it, make sure you're speaking with your local immigration experts. So Gerardo, can you clarify the differences between a single entry and a multiple entry Schengen visa?
Yes, of course. The options for the Schengen visas are three: single entry, double entry, and multiple entry. The validity of the visa is generally 180 days. Both the validity and the number of entries granted are at the discretion of the consulate. Generally, for first-time applicants, only the single entry or double entry options are available, and again, at the discretion of the consulate. Multiple entry visas are available to applicants who have previously held single and/or double entry visas.
So what about the rules and limitations regarding the duration of the stay in the Schengen area on a Schengen visa? I know you mentioned something about 90 days in a 180 period. Are they really strict about that? Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yes, the Schengen visa is a short-term visa, meaning regardless of the purpose, the validity of the period of stay will be 90 days in any 180-day period. Visas for visit exceeding 90 days will remain subject to national procedures, meaning you would have to go through each individual country application for whatever the purpose of the trip is.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's discuss a little bit the visa interview. I know most people, when they apply for a visa, they're most nervous about the interview process. So let's try to alleviate some minds here. What is the role of the visa interview in the Schengen visa application process? And do you have any tips for how applicants can help prepare for it?
Yes, as with any visa application, we recommend that all necessary requirements are met and that the application is based on merit. The interview is normally intended to verify that the information submitted to the consulate matches with the purpose of the travel. They usually ask questions about the content of the documents that have been submitted for verification that that's the actual intent of the travel. In certain circumstances, consulates or service centers may waive the interview requirement or allow visa applications to be sent via mail or courier. Examples of these circumstances is, for example, if the applicant has had previous applications in which their biometric information was already taken and is on file with the authorities, they don't have to make a personal appearance. That's one of the specific examples in which the consulate or the service center waive the interview requirement.
That's good to know. These are some really important things to keep in mind when we're preparing for this process. So, as we're talking about preparing for this process, I'm sure oftentimes, since you help people with this a lot, you see a lot of mistakes that people make in this process. So, let's touch on that a little bit. What are some common mistakes or pitfalls that applicants should be aware of and avoid during the application process? Maybe you can give us some examples of things you've seen that we should keep in mind to make sure we don't make the same mistakes?
Sure. It is fairly when we have the information that is available for us to prepare the applications. It's really easy to just follow the instructions and meet the requirements. Most of the pitfalls or not mistakes, but problems that we have encountered is, for example, when clients have to travel like urgently, and they don't have the usual. It's a processing time. Once the application is submitted, it takes approximately 15 calendar days for the authorities to provide an answer, a decision, and it's usually that have not having enough time to um, to process or to allow for the authorities to process the application. Sometimes service centers have premium packages available for purchase, um, and sometimes we have been able to sort out those issues like that, but it's not available in every consulate or in every service center, and it's not something that we can set as an expectation. So our recommendation would be to allow for at least 15 days once the application is submitted for the authorities to process the application.
That's really important. So if you are going through this process, make sure you are submitting your application with enough time to allow the processing to happen. And so since we're on that topic, let's discuss what happens if somebody does submit their application on time and everything looks good and there's a delay, for example. What should applicants do if they face delays or issues with their Schengen visa application? Is there anything they can do if they're seeing a delay in their application?
Usually, the authorities are very good at providing contact information. They usually recommend not contacting them before the regular processing time is up, because at that point they would just let you know that the application is processing and there's nothing that can be done at that time. But they are if they provide like a minimum set of requirements that we have to submit, which are in most cases sufficient. However, they always reserve the right to request additional documents in the process of reviewing the application. If they determine that additional information or additional documentation is required, they will notify the applicant. And they will also inform them what can be expected in terms of revised processing time, or when they can expect to have news once the additional documentation has been provided.
That's good to know. Okay, so they'll give us an estimated date of when this should be completed. That's helpful information. So let's discuss the post-application follow-up process. What post-application follow-up steps should applicants take, if any, and how can they track the status of their visa application if they're interested in doing so?
They are usually provided with tracking information. They can track the status of the application online, and they have also phone numbers available. But normally, it is very unusual that we deviate from the regular processing time. So it's on a case by case basis. They reserve the right to request additional documents, but it's not very common. So it is almost clockwork. You submit the application, the complete application, and in 15 days you'll have a decision. If they happen to deny the application, they need to provide a reason for it. And so it's either you have the approval or you have a denial with why they decided to deny the visa. But it's they have a way of tracking the application and communicating with the authorities for follow-up purposes.
That's really helpful. I appreciate you covering that. Let's talk about the visa application process differing for different types of people. So how does the visa application process differ from business travelers to tourists and students? I know you said they do all qualify for the Schengen visa. So is the application process the same? Does it differ? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, the application process is the same, and there is, I guess you can divide the set of requirements in two, which is the personal or the list of requirements that are the same for everybody, regardless of the purpose of the visit, whether it is tourism, study, or business. And there is a set of documents that's specific to the purpose of the trip. As I was mentioning earlier, for a business visa, you have to provide like an invitation letter from the host entity and a business cover letter from your employer. For a study abroad visa, you probably would need documents from the school that is hosting the visitor. And for tourism, you probably need like an itinerary of activities that you will be completing while you're on holiday. But there is a set of documents like passport, photo, visa application, fee that are applicable to all applicants, regardless of the purpose of the visit. And there are the second set of documents that will be determined based on the specific purpose of the trip.
That's good to know. Okay, so generally speaking, it's generally the same requirements for anyone applying for this type of visa, it sounds like. So one more question for you, Gerardo. Are there any recent changes or updates in Schengen visa policies that applicants should be aware of? Anything we should keep in mind?
In today's digital age, applying for a visa is still a lengthy and heavily paper-based process. Applicants have to travel to submit their applications and collect their visas afterwards. And this leads to accumulating costs for both the travelers and the consulates. Through the Pact on Migration and Asylum, which was proposed by the Commission in September 2020, an objective was set of making the visa procedure fully digitalized by 2025. This means replacing the visa sticker, improving the visa application process, and significantly reduce costs and burden for the countries, for the European Union countries, as well as for the applicants.
That's really good to know. Thank you for sharing that, Gerardo. Well, you did answer all my questions on this topic. So if you are watching this live and you have any additional questions on the Schengen visa process, please email us at info@chuk.com. We'll be happy to connect you with Gerardo. He's our expert on this topic and he would love to help you out. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you do have any doubts or questions regarding the Schengen visa process. This does bring us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. A special thank you to you, Gerardo, for sharing your insight, knowledge, and taking the time to be here with us today. To stay up to date, everyone, please subscribe and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If this video was helpful, please make sure to give it a like and share it. Subscribe to us and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified of our next upload. And if you have any questions or suggestions or want to see us talk about a topic, please email us anytime at info@chuk.com. And make sure you join us back here next week for more pressing topics that truly matter to you and your business. Until next time, stay safe and take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us.